Okay, real talk for a second. You see someone at a cafe. Maybe they're reading the same book you love. Maybe they're wearing a shirt from your favorite band. Maybe you're both standing at the same broken luggage carousel at the airport, equally frustrated, equally exhausted, and for just a moment, just a single split second, you think, I should say something. And then, nothing. The moment passes. You look away. You go back to your phone. You pretend to be very busy with absolutely nothing. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a small voice whispers, what if I had just said hello? If that has ever happened to you, even once, then you are in exactly the right place today. Because here's what nobody tells you about starting conversations in English. It's not about grammar. It's not about vocabulary. I promise you, it is not about knowing the perfect sentence before you open your mouth. It's about something much simpler and honestly, much deeper than any of that. And by the end of this video, not only will you know exactly what to say in those moments, but you'll understand why it's been feeling so hard. And that understanding, that's what's going to change everything for you. So stay with me. This one is going to be worth your time. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with yourself. When you imagine walking up to a stranger and starting a conversation in English, what actually happens inside your body? Like, what do you physically feel in that moment? For most people, it goes something like this. Your heart speeds up just a little, your throat tightens, your mind, which was perfectly clear and functional 2 seconds ago, suddenly goes completely blank. Every English word you have ever learned in your entire life just disappears, vanishes, like it was never there. And you're standing there thinking, I know English, I study English, I have studied English for years. Why can I not think of a single normal thing to say right now? And then comes the spiral. What if I say it wrong? What if they don't understand my accent? What if they think I'm strange for talking to them? What if they're in a hurry? What if I use the wrong word and accidentally say something embarrassing? What if they laugh? What if? And by the time your brain is finished running through that entire hurricane of what ifs, the moment is gone. The person has moved on. And you're left standing there feeling quietly defeated, thinking, maybe I just need to study more and try again someday.
Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. Here's what I really need you to understand, because this is probably the most important thing I'm going to say in this entire video. That experience, that freeze, that blank mind panic, it is not a language problem. What you just described is not a grammar issue or a vocabulary issue. It is a confidence and mindset issue. And the reason that matters so much is because you simply cannot fix a mindset problem by studying more grammar. It doesn't work that way. You can know every rule in the English language and still be completely unable to open your mouth when it counts. We've all seen it happen. Some of us have lived it. Think about it this way. You probably have conversations in your own language every single day without thinking about it at all, right? You don't rehearse, you don't plan your sentences, you don't stop to check if your grammar is correct, you just talk. The words just come. So what's the actual difference between that and speaking English? The difference is trust. In your language, you trust yourself completely. You trust that the words will come when you need them. You trust that even if you stumble, people will follow you. You trust the whole process of communication. In English, that trust isn't built yet. And building that trust, not through textbooks, but through real interaction, that is what this is really about. I want to tell you about a student I worked with a few years ago. Let's call her Mia. Mia had studied English for 7 years. 7 years. Her grammar was genuinely excellent. Her vocabulary was strong. She'd passed multiple exams with high scores. On paper, on every single piece of paper, Mia was a good English speaker. But every time she had to speak to an actual English-speaking stranger, a customer at her job, a tourist asking for directions, anyone outside of a classroom, she would completely freeze. And she came to me one afternoon looking really frustrated and said, I don't understand. I know so much English. Why can't I speak it? And I told her something that genuinely surprised her. I said, Mia, you know English perfectly well. What you don't know yet is how to be imperfect in English, and that is the only thing standing between you and real fluency. She looked at me like I'd lost my mind, but hear me out, because this is the mindset shift that changes everything.
Most language learners have been trained by schools, by exams, by textbooks to believe that every sentence must be correct, that every word must be right, that communication equals accuracy. And that belief, that deeply ingrained, completely understandable belief, is quietly destroying their ability to actually speak. Because here is the truth about how real humans actually communicate. Real conversation is messy. It's wonderfully, naturally imperfect. Even native English speakers say and like and you know constantly. They trail off mid-sentence. They restart thoughts. They use the wrong word and laugh and correct themselves. They have awkward pauses. And nobody minds. Nobody is keeping score. Because communication is not about being perfect. Communication is about connecting with another person. And the moment you genuinely accept that, not just in your head, but somewhere deeper than that, the pressure drops, your throat loosens, your brain starts working again. Because now you're not performing for a judge, you're just talking to a human. Here's another thing I want you to sit with. When you're nervous about starting a conversation, almost all of your attention is focused inward, on yourself, on how you sound, on how you look, on what the other person might be thinking about you. And that inward focus, that self-monitoring, is exactly what creates the freeze. The antidote to it is something that all truly confident communicators share in any language. They shift their focus outward, to the other person, to what that person might be feeling, what they might need, what might be interesting or useful or simply kind to say to them. And the moment your attention moves from how do I seem to what does this person need, anxiety drops almost instantly. It sounds almost too simple, but try it. You'll be genuinely surprised. One more mindset thing before we move into the practical side, and this one is the one people resist the most. Stop waiting until you feel ready to speak. Confidence in English conversation does not come before the conversation. It comes from having the conversation. Every single exchange you have, even the short ones, the imperfect ones, the ones where you forget.
Here is a fundamental truth about human beings. We are social creatures. We are wired, biologically, neurologically wired to connect with each other. When someone approaches us with warmth and genuine openness, our brains release small amounts of feel-good chemicals. We can't help it. It's just what happens. So when you approach a stranger with real warmth, you are not bothering them. You are not intruding. You are actually triggering something genuinely positive in their experience. Most people, and I'd say the vast majority of people you will ever encounter, are secretly pleased when someone kind and interesting starts talking to them. Think about your own life. Think about the times a stranger said something warm or funny or interesting to you out of nowhere. Didn't it make your day slightly better? Didn't you feel a small lift? That person you want to talk to is almost certainly capable of feeling exactly the same thing. And here's something else worth knowing. The person sitting across from you or standing near you is probably experiencing some version of the same low-grade social hesitation that you are. They're on their phone partly because they don't know how to bridge the gap either. The fact that you're willing to bridge it first doesn't make you vulnerable, it makes you brave. And people are quietly, genuinely drawn to brave. There's also a psychological principle I love called the Ben Franklin effect. Benjamin Franklin, yes, the actual historical figure, discovered that if you ask someone for a small favor, they actually like you more afterwards, not less, more. Because the brain tells itself, if I did something helpful for this person, I must like them. We rationalize our actions into affection. What this means for starting conversations is beautiful. Asking someone a small question, asking their opinion on something minor, asking them for a small recommendation. These things don't make you seem needy. They make the other person feel useful, feel valued, feel good. And that is the perfect foundation for any conversation. Excuse me, do you know if this cafe has Wi-Fi? That's it. That tiny question has started thousands of genuine human connections. Never underestimate the small opening.
All right, let's get into exactly what you say, because I know that's what you came here for. Let's walk through the real situations, the cafe, the airport, the bookshop, the work event, the online space, and I'm going to give you real, natural, human-sounding conversation starters, not textbook lines, not formal, rehearsed sentences, just the kind of thing a real, warm, confident person would actually say. Let's start with the cafe, because honestly, cafes are one of the best places in the world to practice this. The environment is already relaxed and social. People go to cafes to exist in public, and there's an unspoken understanding that a little friendliness is welcome there. So you're at the counter, or you're at a communal table, and someone near you has a drink that looks absolutely incredible. Here's all you need to say. Hey, that looks really good. What is that? That's the whole opener. It's genuine, it's light, it gives the other person something completely easy to respond to. They'll either tell you what it is, or they'll laugh and say they have no idea what they ordered, which is already a small, warm moment of connection between two strangers. Or maybe you've been to this place before, and you want to share something. Have you tried the cold brew here? It's honestly one of the best I've had. You're sharing something helpful, something warm. You're not being strange. You're being the kind of person everyone secretly wishes they'd meet a little more often. And that's a powerful thing to be. Another opener that works in almost any cafe situation. Comment on something you're both experiencing at the same moment. This place fills up so fast, doesn't it? I got lucky with this seat. Shared experience. No pressure at all. Easy to respond to. Done. Now, let's talk about airports and long journeys, because these are honestly ideal situations for conversation practice. Everyone is in the same slightly surreal, slightly stressful situation together. There's already a shared experience ready to bond over. If you're at a gate and a delay gets announced, and it always does, doesn't it? You can turn to the person next to you and say, another delay. Where are you headed? Where are you headed is one of the most natural, universally understood conversation starters you can use in any transit space. It's interesting because everyone has a story about where they're going or where they just come from. It opens up into travel, into life, into all kinds of places. Or if someone near you has what appears to be an almost heroic amount of luggage, going somewhere exciting or just really committed to having options. A little bit of light, self-aware humor. Warm and playful. Almost nobody responds badly to something like that, especially when it comes with a genuine smile and an open, friendly face. On a train or a bus, if you need to sit near someone, don't just sit down in complete silence and stare at your phone as though they don't exist. A small, simple acknowledgement makes a real difference. Is this seat taken? Mind if I sit here? Simple. Respectful. It opens a tiny social door, and a lot of surprisingly good conversations have started with exactly those 4 words.
Now, professional settings, work events, conferences, industry meetups, these can feel intimidating because people assume they need to sound impressive. Let me free you from that pressure completely right now. The people who are genuinely great at these events are not the ones who sound the most impressive. They're the ones who make other people feel interesting and comfortable. That's the skill. That's the whole skill. If you're at a conference or a work social and you see someone nearby who looks slightly unsure what to do with themselves, and trust me, about 70% of people at these events feel exactly that way, just say, "How are you finding it so far? Have you been to one of these before?" Those questions invite the other person to share their experience and their perspective. They immediately signal that you're genuinely interested in them, not just performing sociability. And people love, absolutely love talking to someone who seems truly curious about them. Or go for the shared situation with a little humor. "The food here is actually really good. Did you try those little pastry things? I don't even know what they are, but I've had 4. Warmth, humor, honesty. No performance, no pressure. Just 2 people sharing a small, real moment.
Bookshops are magical places for this because you already know something fundamental about the person standing near you. They like reading. That's a rich, rich vein of connection just waiting to be tapped. If someone picks up a book near you, "Oh, have you read that one? I've been thinking about picking it up." Or if they're holding a book you love, "That's such a good one. Did you just discover it or have you read it before?" If they've read it, you suddenly have a real conversation. If they haven't, you've made yourself the interesting person who recommended something great. Either way, something good just happened.
And if you're practicing online, in a Discord server, a language exchange app, a comment section, a Slack community, don't overlook this space. The anxiety is often lower when there's physical distance, and that makes it perfect for building early confidence. Start by responding to something specific that someone said. "I really liked what you said about that. I've actually been thinking the same thing." Or ask a genuine follow-up question on something someone shared. People light up when they realize someone actually read what they wrote and wants to know more. "That trip you mentioned sounds incredible. How long were you there?" Online conversation is wonderful practice because you have a few extra seconds to think. Use that time. Build your confidence in those spaces and watch it slowly, naturally transfer into face-to-face conversations over time. Okay, so you've started the conversation. You said something, they responded, and now you're in it. Now what? This is actually where most people get more stuck than the opening, because the opening you can practice and prepare, but keeping a conversation alive feels less predictable, less controllable, and that unpredictability is where anxiety sneaks back in. So here are the principles, not rigid scripts because real conversation can never be fully scripted, but the principles that work every single time with any person in any situation. The first one is the gift of the follow-up question. Most people are surprisingly bad listeners because they're too busy thinking about what they're going to say next to really hear what's being said now. But here is the secret that changes everything. You do not need to think of clever things to say. You just need to genuinely listen to what the other person is saying and then ask a real question about it. That's it. That's the whole thing. Imagine you're at an event and you ask someone, "Have you been to this city before?" And they say, "Yeah, actually, I lived here for 3 years before I moved to Berlin." Now you have 5 different directions you can go. You can ask about Berlin. You can ask what it was like living in this city versus just visiting. You can ask why they moved. You can say you've always wanted to go to Berlin. Any of those threads keeps the conversation going beautifully. And the best part is that all you had to do was actually listen. "Oh, wow, Berlin? What's that like to live in? I've only ever seen it in photos." You've just made them the interesting one. You've given them the floor, and people will almost always step forward and fill that floor with something genuinely good because most humans love to talk about their own lives when someone seems truly curious. The second principle is what I call leaving open doors. Whenever you share something about yourself, leave something open, a detail, a feeling, a question that the other person can walk through if they want to. Instead of just saying, "I went to Tokyo last year," try saying, "I went to Tokyo last year and it kind of blew my mind, honestly. Have you ever been to Japan?"
You shared something personal, you gave it a little emotional color, and then you turned it back to them. Now they can ask you about Tokyo, they can talk about their own relationship with Japan, they can tell you where they've always wanted to travel. Multiple open doors, lots of room to move.
The third principle, validate what people share. When someone tells you something, whether it's exciting or completely ordinary, give them a real human reaction, not a performance, a genuine one. Oh, really? That's actually really interesting. Wow, I'd never thought about it that way. No way, that must have been wild. These aren't just filler, they're signals. They tell the other person, I'm actually listening to you. I find you genuinely interesting. Keep going. And when people feel truly heard, they open up. The conversation deepens. It becomes real. Now, the thing that probably terrifies most learners more than anything else, the awkward silence. That pause in the conversation where neither person is saying anything and both people are suddenly very aware of it. Here's a reframe that I want you to try. Silences in conversation are not failures. They're just pauses. Even native speakers have silences. Even the closest friends have silences. The silence only becomes genuinely awkward when both people treat it like an emergency that needs to be solved immediately. If you can stay comfortable in it, if you can breathe, look around, let the silence just breathe for a second, you will almost always find that the other person relaxes too. And then something natural comes and the conversation continues. If you want to bridge a pause gracefully, just make a simple observation about where you are or what's happening around you. This is such a nice spot, isn't it? That works every time.
Let me give you some phrases now. A real toolkit of natural, flexible language that works across many different situations. These aren't lines to memorize rigidly, they're patterns. Think of them as starting points that you can adapt. To open based on your shared environment, this place has a great atmosphere, doesn't it? The view from here is incredible. I wasn't expecting it to be this busy today. Have you been here before? I just discovered it. To open based on something the person has or is doing, that looks really interesting. What is it? Is that a good book? I'm looking for something new to read. You look like you know this area. Any good coffee places nearby? To give a genuine compliment that flows into conversation, I love your jacket, by the way. Really cool style. You have great taste. That's one of my favorite bands. Notice that a great compliment is always specific, and it often connects to something you share in common. That second part is the bridge from compliment to real conversation. To ask for an opinion, which is psychologically powerful because it makes the other person feel valued. I can't decide. Which one would you go for? Do you think it's worth it? I've heard mixed things. You seem like you know. What would you recommend? To go deeper once the conversation is started? Oh, really? How did that happen? That's so interesting. Tell me more about that. Wait, seriously? What was that like? I've always wondered about that. What's your experience been? And to end a conversation gracefully and warmly, which is just as important as starting it. It was really lovely talking to you. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll let you get back to it. This was a genuinely great chat. Enjoy your trip. I hope the next flight is on time for once. Ending with warmth and a small touch of real humor leaves a lasting positive impression. The other person walks away thinking, that was a nice interaction. And you walk away thinking, I did that. I can do this. And that thought, that quiet, private confidence is worth more than any grammar lesson.
All right, before you go, I have one challenge for you, and I really want you to do this. In the next 24 hours, start one conversation in English with someone you don't know. It can be in person, it can be online, it can be tiny. Just one sentence, one comment, just one. And then come down to the comments and tell me how it went. Tell me what you said, tell me how it felt. I read those comments and I genuinely love hearing your stories. Your small victories matter more than you know. They inspire other people who are sitting exactly where you were sitting at the beginning of this video. If this video helped you, and I really hope it did, please share it with someone who's working on their English confidence. You might be the reason they finally start, and that is a genuinely meaningful thing to be. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I make videos like this regularly, all about speaking English naturally, confidently, and in a way that actually connects with real people. I want to help you get there, and I genuinely believe you can. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. That right there tells me something about you. It tells me you have the patience and the commitment to do this. Now go show yourself that you have the courage too. I'll see you in the next one.